Hey everyone, I hope that you're doing well. Thank you so much for joining me once again on another video. I hope that you're all safe. In today's video, I'm going to take you with me on a trip that I took back in February to San Diego. So if you saw Journals episode 3, you know that in February I went to San Diego to drop my mom off, to drop my sister off. I live in Los Angeles, so it's about a 2 to 3 hour drive. And one of the things that I mentioned in that video is that I'm currently trying to exercise or develop the habit of taking whatever life throws my way and turning it into something positive. And so today's video is from that same week. So episode 3 was me dropping them off. Episode 4, which is today's episode, I go to San Diego to pick them up. And so I had to be at the US-Mexico border crossing at 9 p.m. and it was a Friday. So rather than, leaving at around 4 or 5 p.m. and spending 3 or 4 hours in traffic, I decided to leave at 10:30 in the morning and turn it into a photography mini road trip. And that's what I did. The first stop that I made was in Oceanside. So I left Los Angeles not really knowing where I was going, what the plan was. I just figured that I would spend the day out on the streets making photographs. And so when I was driving and approaching Oceanside, I decided that that would be a really great spot. When I was a kid, I used to go to this marina. My parents would take me there. They would take me and my siblings there. And so I thought it would be a great place to revisit, not only as an adult, but also as a photographer. So as usual, the beginning of this episode, just like most of these journal episodes, the beginning is usually that warm-up period, right? I did mention in episode 3 that, shooting boats and marinas and things of that nature is something that I'm not used to. So it was a great exercise in composition for me. So I was there probably walking around for about maybe 15 to 20 minutes. And on the way back to the car, I saw this guy playing the guitar. And you've already seen his portrait. I started talking to him for a little bit. We ended up talking probably for about 20 minutes. And at the end of that conversation, I asked him if it was okay if I made a portrait of him. And he said it was fine. And I decided to move on and go to the Oceanside Pier. I had been shooting there probably for about 45 minutes when I ran out of space in my SD card on my Fuji XF10. And I realized usually I have a 16 or a 32 gigabyte card in there, but I had only put in an 8 gigabyte card. And so I went back to the car and I switched out the SD card. I'm back in my car. I'm gonna just rest for a little bit and then I'll go out and shoot again. I'd been walking around for quite some time at this point. I had been driving for a couple of hours prior to that, and I hadn't gotten much sleep the night before. So I rested for a little bit, just kind of chilled out, reset, and then I went back out as the sun was starting to go down. And it was at this point where it seems to me like that period of resting, that period of just kind of like settling down a little bit and then going back out made a huge difference. And I think that probably my favorite pictures from this particular day were shot during this next segment that I'm going to share with you. I do want to talk about two of the pictures in this set that are my favorite from the entire day. Not necessarily because they're like amazing pictures, it just because they remind me of that moment. And so the first one is the picture of the surfer where he's running with his surfboard. I shot that with the Fuji XF10. A lot of people complain about the autofocus. But for me, I kind of know how to time it now. I'd been shooting with the XF10 probably like on a daily basis for about 6 weeks at this point. I saw this guy running towards the water, and I just kind of waited and I took the picture. To be honest with you, it wasn't my intention to catch him floating in the air. I just wanted to catch him in action and freeze the moment. But this, for whatever reason, it makes me feel good when I look at this picture. The second picture that I want to share with you that I really find meaningful is the picture of the family that is, you have the husband and wife, or the boyfriend and girlfriend, man and woman, and they are embracing each other, looking out into the ocean. Their two kids are playing in the sand, and there's a surfer off on the side. What compelled me to make that photograph was just, I guess that's something that I strive for in the future. That's something that I want for myself. And I just thought it was a beautiful moment, and it was just all worked together. That picture was made also with the XF10. Prior to that, I had shot a couple of pictures with the 27mm 2.8 on the Fuji XE3. But I think just out of habit, just because I had been shooting so much with the XF10, I put the XE3 away, and then I made this picture, which is my favorite from this particular session. So at this point, I decided to explore Oceanside a little bit more. So I decided to walk around the pier, and at this point it was nighttime. I wasn't really feeling it. I took a couple of pictures of some of the shops, and I decided, my best bet is just to go into San Diego. It's a Friday night. I'll go into downtown San Diego and just walk around and see what I get. Okay, so I'm leaving Oceanside. I thought Oceanside was a lot closer to San Diego, but it looks like I'm an hour away from downtown San Diego. I have 3 hours before I have to be there, but I think it's about an hour from downtown San Diego. So basically I have an hour drive, an hour to shoot, and then another hour drive to meet my mom and my sister. That walk that I just shared with you, where I went around, took pictures in downtown San Diego, I was really getting like a second wind. I was really enjoying that, and I didn't want to leave. If I didn't have to go pick up my mom and my sister at 9 p.m., I probably would have stayed there probably another hour and a half or so. The energy was good. People were just starting to show up. A lot of the nightclubs were just starting to like get packed and open up. And I didn't want to leave, but when duty calls, I answer. So I got in my car and headed over to the US-Mexico border. And as I was driving there, just this tremendous, like intense fog hit. And I began to worry a little bit about, my mom and my sister, and, trying to land there or having the pilot land there. Fortunately, the airline was wise enough to redirect the flight to another state because the conditions were considered too dangerous. But I did make a couple of photographs, and when I got the call that the flight had been redirected to another state, that I should just go home, I was reminded of a very valuable lesson. Driving there for 3 hours in like heavy Friday traffic, only to drive back another 2 hours or 2 hours and a half. It would have felt like a waste of time. For me, it was just a reminder that I can always take something that normally would burn me out a little bit, and I can turn it into something beneficial, something productive, and something that's ultimately just great for my soul and for my growth, not only as a photographer, but as a human being. Thank you so much for your continued support, for all of you who have been subscribing, and I hope you're safe, and I will see you in next week's episode. Thank you. Bye.